The most important thing for teachers and students using a textbook is to learn something that can be used in situations other than the one stipulated in the book. This is a 6-part grammar lesson on reported speech and direct speech. In this one, we will focus on the mechanics of direct speech in a written format. This lesson can be used with Mega Goal 6, Traveler 6, and Flying High 5. This lesson uses the following color code. Before you start, learning, do it alone and check, and test yourself. As we said, this lesson is going to focus on the mechanics, and this lesson will be focusing on capitalization and punctuation of direct speech sentences. Now, the first task, and this is for the teachers to know. One of the most important things at the beginning of each learning session is to ensure that the following 4 principles are met. Principle number 1, when a student comes to class or is doing remote or distance learning, they are still thinking in their native language. And our job as instructors and teachers is to help them transition from their native language to English. This is called code switching. The second principle that we need to remember is the students need to become aware and get oriented about what it is that they're going to be learning. When they first start the lesson, they cannot see or predict where the lesson is going to go. So experiencing this through a task is more effective than being told about it. So the principle is a sense of direction for every student. The third principle is the students need to increase their attention in order to learn and create what is called a holding ability. So when the students are able to increase their attention and hold something, this primes their brain and gets it ready to learn. So we call this heightened attention. And number 4, one thing we all know is the students are not all of the same level in English. And the first task should ensure that all of them can participate, not only the ones who have higher command of English and know the answer. If some of the students are left out at the beginning, they will never be able to catch up in the subsequent tasks. So leveling the playing field for everyone is essential. This is called equals challenge. So in the next task, you're going to not only see what the students are going to be able to do and what they will be doing, but how these 4 principles are embedded. So this is the first task with the 4 principles embedded. We're going to give the students 3 sentences. One of the 3 is different from the other 2. And the differences are not the words or the meaning. And we want the students to mark the differences. So what is really going to happen here is the student's mind is going to look at that information and compare and contrast it. And everybody can do that. So we have our 3 sentences, and we say, read the 3, mark the differences, give them some time to do it. Now you will notice that this is going to heighten their attention, give them a sense of direction. Everybody can do it. And most of all, it is being done in English. After they finish, the teacher can ask them in pairs to show each other the differences that they marked, or they can go straight to the slide and compare what they have done with what they're going to see. So what we're going to do now is show the slide with the differences after everyone has tried to mark the differences. You will notice here, the doctor said there is a space. In the other two, there is no space between said and the comma. And in this one, in the middle, there is space. You will also notice that after those two marks called quotation marks, and stop and he, the letters are capitalized, whereas in come, the letter is not capitalized. And at the end, notice that gossip and now is followed directly by the period, whereas after tomorrow, there is a space. And the other two, the period is followed directly by those two marks called quotation marks, whereas in the middle one, there is a space. So two are the same, one is different, and the right ones are two. So this is going to give us a sense of direction that we're probably going to be learning something about why this is done and how to always get it right. Now, you notice here, the doctor said, they said, my dad said is at the beginning. So we're going to give them another one where the person who speaks is at the end. 1, 2, 3. Again, we ask the students to look at the three sentences and mark the differences. So two are the same and one has differences. Mark the differences. Give them some time to do it, like a minute, not more than that. And then they can check their answers on the slide that you're going to show, or they can compare with each other first. And here we go. Oh, look what we noticed. After the quotation mark, there's a space, whereas the other two, there is no space. The U starting with a small letter, whereas with the other two, they're starting with capital letters. After the end of the quote, we have a space comma in this one, and the other two, they don't have a space. And after the comma, oh, look, there is a space between the comma and quotation mark. In the other two, there isn't. And also notice that said in the other two are small s, whereas this one is capital S. And again, this is to heighten the attention and say, this is what we're going to be learning. Let's look at another three. Now, these three, the person who speaks is in the middle of the quote. So the quote is actually broken, and we say, who said that? And then we continue the quote. Here are three. Do the assignment, said the teacher, and I will check it later. So the student's going to be looking at, and you notice that the sentences have increased in number of words because after the first two, which were easier, we can raise the level a little bit. And again, the student is comparing and contrasting. We said, don't look at the words or the meaning. Look at the differences that you can see. You do not have to be excellent in English to do this. So the person who knows English and the person who doesn't know English as much, they have the same challenge. And again, when they finish, what you want to do is get them to check their answers. And here's what we're going to see. Oh, look, the if and the do start with capital, and this one, the if starts with a small. In the other two, what we've got is a comma after the middle of the quotation, and this one, nope, there's nothing, and there's a space. And another thing you want to notice is when it continues, you want to ask yourself, and I will check it at the top. Why is the Y capital? Whereas Benjamin Franklin is a name, U is not a name. So again, we don't expect the students to get all of them right. We don't expect the students to, this is not a test. This is heightening the attention and priming the brain for what it's going to learn. Now we're going to start learning. Green is for the learning. Listen to, read the rules of capitalization for direct speech sentences. So the first step is we're going to look at how capitalization works. The first word in the sentence always starts with a capital letter. They said he likes gossip. Let's check. The first word in the sentence is they. Okay. And the first word, the first letter is capitalized like this. The first word is the. And the first letter of the first word in the sentence starts with a capital. Again, the first word in the sentence, if, has got to start with a capital letter. So what we're going to do is we're going to build up the rule rather than say, okay, here are the rules, go and do 25 exercises and see if you get them right. Now, the rule for capitalization again, but now notice that the speaker is at the beginning, not at the end. And the quote, the exact word someone said, is capitalized. So let's have a look. The first word in the quote. Oh, there it is. And he likes gossip are the exact words that someone said. And the first letter in that quote, the H, is capitalized. Now, one more for capitalization. Look at this. The first word in the quote is capitalized. Let's find the quote and the first word. So the first word is the. Oh, look at the exact quote. The things most people want to know about are usually none of their business. And the first letter is capitalized. And again, this is the third example where the speaker is at the end. If you want to find out where the speaker is in the middle, if you want to find out people's faults, Benjamin Franklin said, praise them to their friends. So what is the first word? If. What are the exact words? If you want to find out about people's faults, praise them to their friends. Those are the exact words. So we capitalize the letter of the first word in the quote. Now, we have taken capitalization. In this strategy for learning, we do not spend half the class time instructing, teaching, and telling about the rules. And then in the second part or the last third part, we go, here's a bunch of exercises, do them. Here, we ask the student to do this as part of a scaffolding or a step method so that they learned about capitalization. They're going to do this not as a test, but as a learning. So we tell them, find the first word in each quote and capitalize the first letter. Easy, isn't it? Okay, do it alone. Don't go around asking each student the answer. Increase the experience for all the students by getting them all to do it alone, and then they can check their answers. And this is what you show them. Now, we have the reporting verb and the reporting person. So the reporting verb and the reporting person can come before a quote. Let's look at the reporting verb and reporting person. Oh, the reporting verb is said. Now, who said that? The reporting person. And what did they say? He likes gossip. So we moved from capitalization to finding the reporting verb and the reporting person. And these are the exact words that they said. Let's try it again. We want to find the reporting verb, the reporting person, and the exact words that someone said. Okay, what is the reporting verb? Oh, there we go. The reporting verb. Well, who said that? Oh, George Bernard Shaw. Good. What were his exact words? The things most people want to know about are usually none of their business. Let's do it again. We want to find a reporting verb and the person who said it and their exact words. So what's the reporting verb? Said. And who said that? Benjamin Franklin. Okay. What were his exact words? If you want to find out people's faults, praise them to their friends. Now, again, after that very brief learning, you try it by yourselves. Here's what we want you to do. Just find the reporting verb and circle it with a red pen, and find the reporting person and circle it with a blue pen. After they finish, give them time to do it, like a minute, 2 minutes, depending. Only the person teaching these kids knows how much time they need. Let's not waste too much time talking. What we want to do is to give them an experience to build on. So it is not a test. We don't want to see in a test, circle the reporting verb and the reporting person. This is part of the learning process. So after the student finishes, do it alone, we can say, okay, let's check. And you notice the doctor is the reporting person, said is the verb. Mom is the reporting person, said is the reporting verb. My dad is the reporting person, said is the reporting verb. Now, so we've done capitalization, reporting person and reporting verb. Now let's look at punctuation. Quotation marks around a quote. What is a quote again? The exact words someone said. So let's go through the rules. The quotation marks come before a quote in the sentence and after the punctuation at the end of the quote. Let's see it working. The quotation marks, so now they started because they primed the brain in the first task by noticing differences. So now when you start with the word quotation marks, it starts to give some meaning. You know, you are giving a name to something familiar. Whereas in the beginning, you say, today we're going to learn about quotation marks around a direct quote. These words may be meaningless. And the direct quote, the exact words are, he likes gossip. And let's look at the punctuation at the end of the quote. Okay, there we go. We have a period after gossip, and then it's followed immediately by a quotation mark. Let's do it again. What are we looking for? The quotation marks before and after the quote, or the exact words. There we go. And what happened? The direct quote, and we're looking for the punctuation at the end of the quote. There we go. Here it's a comma. Why isn't it a period? Because the person who is saying it is at the end, whereas in the previous one, the person who's saying it is at the beginning. So it's not the end of the sentence, it's just the end of the quote, comma, said George Bernard Shaw, that's the end of the sentence. Now let's try it where the quote is in the middle. So the quote is broken into two parts and the reporter and the reporting verb come in the middle. So let's look for the quotation marks of the exact words. Oh, there we go. Now we have two sets. One before, one after the first part, and one before and one after the second part of the quote. But the exact words are, if you want to find out people's faults, praise them to their friends. Now, what is the exact quote? This is what we just said, the green one. Now let's look at the punctuation. We have two. We have a comma after the first part of the quotation, the comma after false and the quotation mark, because it's still in the middle. And at the end, we have the period and then the quotation because the period is at the end of the sentence. Again, we're going to ask the student to do it. Now notice how we're building up. We go back to reporting verb, reporting person, but now we say add the quotation marks. So what must the student do? The student, it needs to find the reporting person, circle in blue, the reporting verb, circle with a red pen, and then put quotation marks around the exact words in the right places. And after we give them some time to do this, then we give them the feedback or the answer for them to check their own answer. So telling them and they finding what they haven't done or have done right is more effective than us telling them what they haven't done right. So when you can find and correct what you haven't done, it is more effective learning than when somebody tells you about it. So let's check our answers. And we've got, there we go. Reporting verb said. Who said it? My friend. What did they say exactly? Be careful. And here is what we need to do. The second one is, you are the best in class. Those are the exact words. So we have, because the speaker was in the middle, we split the quotation. And you, comma, are the best in class, period, end. My teacher said to me is in the middle. Now remember, you can also put my teacher said to me at the beginning or at the end. And the last one, Khalid said, I will see you tomorrow. Now more learning. Now we moved from capitalization to quotation marks, and now to the punctuation of the comma and the period. So we're going to do the comma and the period first, then we will do the question mark and the exclamation mark, and then after that, we will give them a task to do. So remember, the last word of the quote in a sentence is followed by a comma or a period, and there is no space between the last word and the comma or period. So let's look at what we've got here. I've taught at this school for 15 years, Mrs. Jackson said. The last word in the quote is years, but because it's not at the end of the sentence, the quote is followed by a comma. Now, remember, years, comma, quotation. Not years, comma, space quotation. Not years, space, comma, space quotation. Only the first one is correct. Let's try it again. Now notice the speaker is at the beginning and the quote is at the end. So let's look at the last word in the quote, table. And the quote is, there will be a 20-minute wait for a table. Because table is at the end of the sentence and there is nothing else, the punctuation has got to be a period. And again, here's what I want you to remember. Table, period, quotation mark. However, not table, period, space, quotation mark, or table, space, period, space, quotation mark. I am emphasizing these is because I've noticed a lot of written documents or typed documents that have these mistakes. And it can be very irritating for the non-conventional or non-conformity to exact and precise punctuation. Let's look now where the reporter and the reporting verb split the exact words. Albert and I, Hussein said, are going to form a writers group. What is the last word in the quote? Group. And what is the exact quote? Albert and I are going to form a writers group. Now, let's look at the punctuation. The first part of the quote is followed by a comma before the quotation mark. That's because the sentence has not ended. Whereas after group, it's followed by a period because that is the end of the sentence. And remember, so when we split a quotation into two parts with a speaker or a reporter in the middle, you follow it with a comma. So Albert and I, comma, quotation mark. Not I, comma, space, quotation mark. Neither I, space, comma, quotation mark. Now at the end of the sentence, because it ended, we need to put a period. So the correct way to do it is group, period, quotation mark. Not group, period, space, quotation mark, and not group, space, period, space, quotation mark. Now we're going to go to the punctuation using the question mark. The last word of a quote, the exact word someone said, in a question is followed by a question mark if the reporter is asking a question. There is no space between the last word and the question mark. Let's have a look. The last word in the quotation, homework. And the exact words are, did you do your homework? Now, let's look at the punctuation. Oh, there it is. It's a question mark because it's a question. The sentence in itself, ending in me and period, is not a question, but the exact words of the speaker, my teacher, they were a question. So let's remember the rule, homework, question mark, quotation mark. Not homework, question, space, quotation, and not homework, space, question mark, space, quotation. Now, let's look at another example. The question now is at the end. The teacher asked John, why are you late? So what's the last word in the quotation? It's late. And what are the exact words that were spoken by John? Why are you late? And what is the punctuation? There it is. It's the question mark. Now, what you need to remember is late, question mark, quotation mark, no spaces. Not late, question mark, space, quotation mark, or late space, question, space, quotation mark. Those are wrong. Now, we're going to do the exclamation mark. The last word of a quote, the exact word someone said, in an exclamatory sentence is followed by an exclamation mark if the reporter is expressing a strong emotion. And there is no space between the last word and the exclamation mark. Let's look at the last word in the quotation. Exams. And what were the exact words? I passed all my exams. Now that is cause for jubilee, right? It's a strong emotion. So our last punctuation mark is the exclamation mark. And notice, I said to my friends is not as emotionally strong as I shouted to my friends. I yelled to my friends, okay? I shouted, using at the top of my voice. So remember, exams, exclamation mark, quotation mark. Not exams, exclamation mark, space, quotation, or exams, space, exclamation, space, quotation. Only the first one is correct. Now, let's look at it again with the speaker being and the reporting verb being in the beginning. The teacher announced to the class, you all passed. Well, I think the teacher was pretty excited about that. So let's look at the last word in the exact words someone said. You all passed. Passed is the last word. And the exact words are you all passed. And the quotation is, the punctuation mark is an exclamation mark, no space, quotation mark. So please remember, passed, exclamation mark, quotation mark. That's the right order. No spaces after the exclamation mark, no spaces before and after the exclamation mark. And again, notice our system. Once you do this part, you're building up. You don't put a set of rules and expect everybody to become automatic at them. We're building up the automaticity with these interspersed tasks that the student needs to do on his or her own. Now notice what we have added. We're still circling the reporting verb and the reporting person and the quotation marks, but now we added a period and a comma. In order not to confuse them and not to put too many sentences, because that would become an exercise. And what we're doing is you're going to be learning from this. We only put the sentences that take periods and commas. And when they finish, again, the teacher can ask the students to compare notes with each other and do not accept Anybody saying, I did it in my head. You want them to see, you want to see them doing it using their hands with a pencil or a crayon. And with different colors is even better to help them classify and categorize everything that they're doing. At least the annotation is more understandable. When they finish, what we're going to do is give them the ability check. And as you see here, we don't need to spend too much time on this anymore, but where they put the right commas and the right periods. And the next one is the same, except for period and comma, we have exclamation mark and a question mark, plus what they have done before, you know, the punctuation of period, comma, quotation marks, etc. So let's check when they finish. They need to do this alone first, and then you give them an opportunity to check. They asked us, comma, do, open the quotation marks, capital D, directions, question mark, close the quotations. What a wonderful surprise. Again, those are the exact words my brother shouted. Do you want milk with your coffee? The waiter asked. So it's a question. Do you want milk with your coffee? Question mark. Close the quotation marks. The waiter asked. So this helps the instructor and the student know what they have not reached a degree of automation yet in order to help them some more. Now, we want you to check your ability, and we're going to give you something to use what you have learned all together. The most important thing is the ability to write a sentence that includes the reporter, the reporting verb, the quote, the capitalization, the question mark, the quotation marks, and the necessary punctuation. Here's an example. So we have put a picture of a young lady with maybe her son or her baby brother or baby sister. But we see from her words, she's saying, this is my baby brother. And we want the student to write the direct quote with the reporter and the reporting verb in this box here. So this is an example. Let's see what's going to happen. Notice, quotation marks, capital T is my baby brother, comma, close the quotation marks, she said, period. Now, other variations could be, for example, the young lady said, the boy's sister said, the baby brothers. Those are fine as long as everything is correct. Now we're going to give them something to do by themselves, like this. So you see, you have a doctor, and he's saying, come see me tomorrow. Now you can say, come and see me tomorrow, and you can say, come see me tomorrow. Let's not get into that. It's not an exclamation, it's just information, and we will wait for the student. So now we're not going to give direct feedback. We're going to get them to be able to be a little bit independent before we give feedback. So don't ask right after this how good it is. Just get them to do this. And then the next one, I would like to speak to customer service, please. And again, let them write it with everything that should be there. And one more, I scored a goal. Now notice that there is an exclamation mark. And who's saying it? Well, the football player, obviously. And here we've got a waiter who's saying, would you like some grape juice? Which is a question. So the students are going to write it. So this is now where you've had the students moving into an independent and autonomous level. And then, of course, we can give them feedback, or they can check their answers. Come see me tomorrow. I would like to speak to customer service, please, the woman said. I scored a goal, the football player shouted. Would you like some grape juice? The waiter asked. Now, once we've reached this point, it is time to do what is called the test. Now, look at this test. For students to start learning, this is the test, and you can put exactly the same thing in the test. All you need to do is change the sentences. And what we want the student to be able to do is this. I know what the teacher is going to ask me. I don't know what he is going to ask me about or on it. I don't know which sentences are going to be in the test, but I know what is expected of me. And when you know what you are able to do, what you're supposed to do, and then we have the variable of not knowing which sentence you're going to do on, makes the learning process the most important factor, and not studying the important factor. Because studying for an exam means cramming at the last minute to remember enough to get a passing grade. There is no studying here. There is learning every minute, every session. So this is what we have here. Be considerate of others when you are playing, the mother told the child. We want the students to find the mistakes in capitalization, quotation marks, and punctuation in the sentences and correct them. Now, you can put 10 sentences and you can put 3. What is important is not to break the students' back, but just to do enough to know that you can. There is no guessing game here. Either you know it or you don't. Now look at this one. The sentence is there, but how about, after you check your answers, and here are the feedback. So you might not give the student this could be your answer key, or you can give it to the students as part of the learning process. Now look at the next one. Here, you are not finding the mistakes anymore. You get a bunch of words, and you have to add the correct capitalization, quotation marks, and punctuation in each sentence by yourself as a student. And this now is evidence that the student has reached a degree of automaticity in the ability to being able to do it alone. This lesson 1 out of 6 is, remember, focusing on the mechanics of accuracy in capitalization, quotation marks, and punctuation. Now, again, when we finish, we can give them the feedback, or we can use it as an answer key. We would like to thank you for participating, and please we're looking forward to you participating in lessons 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the following lessons and sessions on the ability of reaching accuracy, fluency, and automaticity in direct speech and indirect speech. If you'd like to look at how we organize this and how we design a complete year from the beginning of the year, you can read further, or you can contact us at cel.edu.sa for our website, or you can follow us on Twitter or email. Thank you very much, and hoping to talk to you soon.